Shalom, La Bachayayim, Shaliyah, peace be to the elect of the nation of Israel, which, of course, the elect of the nation of Israel consists of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and the Americans, the chosen, 144,000, particularly the men, Hanabiyayim, the prophets, which are the leaders of the nation, in which will prophesy and preach, and will be heard by, of course, the rest of the elect, which consists of the rest of the 1/3 numerable multitude of men, women, and children, which will believe, and collectively as a whole, the 1/3, 144,000, and the numerable multitude will receive the Tawah, which is the mark of exemption from the coming destruction. So you guys say Shalom. Wa call Layim La Allahayna Yahweh Bashim Al Shai Bashim Kakodash. All praises to our power, which is Yahweh, the Most High's name in the Hebrew, which is Yahweh, which means He is, He exists. And Yahweh Shai is His only begotten Son's name. And the world even calls Jesus Christ His true name, Amath Shem, which is true name in Hebrew, or Amath Shemwa, is Yahweh Shai, the Son of the Most High, which means He, the Savior, or He, the Deliverer. And of course, by Hashem meaning in the name, Rechab meaning Spirit, Kodash is holy, which are uttered in the Paleo-Hebrew language has been returned back unto us Hebrew Israelites. And of course, double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone, who are well, and peace and salutations to the sincere Achim, the Achwathium, brothers and sisters, which are hearkening and listening and being obedient to this truth and working out their salvation with all fear and trembling. Shemiyah Mafa, my name is Mafa from the Great Millstone Machana, or the Great Millstone Plaintables Camp, Godwalla Rakab, Machana, Great Millstone Camp, Baba Ball in the city of Iwar of Philadelphia, coming with another my Lamadium, a little lesson, my mouth of truth. A public bus swallowed by a massive sinkhole in downtown Pittsburgh, rush hour. This was published on the 28th of, this is currently October 2019, year of Kragma, and it says here, stunning video recorded by a local CBS affiliate captures the aftermath of a bus, lorry, right, that was swallowed up by a giant sinkhole that opened up in downtown Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is a major city in the United States. During the Monday morning rush hour, emergency crews rushed to the scene, having the entire back half of the Port Authority bus that went into the ground at Penn Avenue on 10th Street just before 8 a.m. and the gaping hole opened up. A statement by the city's Port Authority indicates the bus was stopped at a red light when the hole opened up underneath, and that's just a reflection of the infrastructure of the United States, which we are going to cover within this wee lesson. It's the main cover, the main point of this lesson. It says only 2 people, including a diver, or the driver actually, Slakia, or it says diver. I assume that's maybe a typo. Were on the bus when the sinkhole opened up, and both were able to escape. One of the minor injury, though initial authorities worried that may have been up to 10 on the bus. Currently, the front half of the bus is sticking up in the air, and the efforts to remove the vehicle are expected to take all day, with surrounding streets and at least one block shut down. You have just a wee bit of Twitter video, and you can see, kind of see how thick this actual hole is going down. You even had this other vehicle, Rakab, behind it, which sunk down a wee bit too, as well. It looks like water is coming out too. I'm not sure if that's a water main or something too, but as you can see, you the actual bus or lorry that's been suspended due to it being partially put in the oil in the ground. Alright, so that's it right there. And you have other angles here as well. That's a pretty deep hole. It says that the further report site of the city could possibly need 2 large cranes in order to remove the bus from the crater. And other reports say that tow trucks on the scene. The incident is expected to create gridlock throughout the day in the downtown area. We've noted many times before, no matter what particular political perspective is, there is one thing that virtually everyone in the United States kindly agree upon, is that the fact that America, which is Babylon the Great, infrastructure is crumbling. This is directly out of the scriptures too. When you get the scripture in Isaiah the 14th chapter, and we'll get that Isaiah, which is the book of Isaiah chapter 14, and 11. It says, "Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows." Pomp being, of course, arrogancy of what America, Esau, Edom. Okay, because the Lord is bringing it down. It says, and the noise of thy vows, that's the music and such, which is shite out here. And because you see prophecy being fulfilled with this shite music that's being produced at this time. It's completely shite. You know, when you have different artists that can't even sing, they're just using the auto-tune, and they know how to actually make a good song. And it says, the worm is spread under thee, the worms cover thee. Now, when you go into this word for worm, you go into the Hebrew word ramah, which when you go into it, it's going to a worm, a cause of sign or decay. So basically the decay, right? As you know that when something decays, it has signs such as worms, which eat up that which is decaying, which you see like something that's dead or dying. Okay, you have different sorts of insects that will eat it up. Yeah, over here you got maggot, worm, alright, ramah. So this is speaking about the decay. Okay, and that's the decay here at Esau, Edom, here in America. Okay, he has the worm that is spread, the decay is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. Nothing but decay in this shite infrastructure, in which we have this other article here, which it says here, 11 deeply alarming facts about Americans' crumbling infrastructure. Now, just to get a wee bit of understanding, we'll go into the term infrastructure to inform those who may not know, or Allah Yadai. It says here, a basic and physical organization of structures, facilities, buildings, roads, power supplies needed for the operation of society or an enterprise. Got infra and structure. Okay, so that's it. So your roads is a major part of your infrastructure, because that's how the flow of traffic of goods, people, different services within the country. That's the way, of course, they go about. And if you have that and being disrupted, it can cause obviously a trouble, much trouble. It says here, in the book of Ayawab, or actually I'm going to get this in Malachi, And then we'll go to the Ayawab. This will be a Kawash Lamadium, or a quick lesson or teaching. It says here that wherein Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. You have Edom, of course. You saw Edom, and was pushed out into the caves of the Caucasus Mountains, and of course, during the time of the Dark Ages, we ruled. That's when we pushed them out there. Then, of course, you had us fall, okay, and that's due to we have the bubonic plague and such, and of course, it just being prophecy. You had Esau come back in the time of the Renaissance. He's been ruling ever since. Okay, which when you read in the book of Revelation, it covers it about the little season. It says, and I saw an angel come down. This is Revelation 21. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. Which you got the bottomless pit being Europe. You have the great chain, which symbolizes slavery. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Okay, and we ruled for 1,000 years. Okay. It says, and cast him to the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal on him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he should be loose a little season. And so you had this little season, which when you go into it, Revelation the 13th chapter, you have this. This is Revelation chapter 13:3, and I saw one of the heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. So you had this head was wounded to death, all right, and it was healed, right? It was healed. Okay. You had, of course, Esau, Edom fall and then come back. All right. And let me see. I'm just gonna now go back. Yeah, that's rule in the times of you going to the 5 good emperors, the Severian, okay, that go into the Antonine dynasty and such, okay. Jake was ruling in Rome, all right. Meaning Jacob, Israelites, all right, had control of a lot of the different lands, okay, out there in Europe and such. And while, of course, Esau, Edom was in the caves, pushed out, out of his land and such, out of Petra and out of Edom, okay, out of Sha'ar, or Mount Seir, into them different caves. And then he came back. But you go into the Renaissance with the Borgia family and such, first Crane family and all of the different Edomites which came and started to marry within the families. And of course they came with their Renaissance, which they whitewashed all of the different images, took down a lot of different frescoes, icons, and you go into it, and even the statues and such. And of course they painted themselves in our likeness as the rulers, and literally you tried to destroy the history of our rulership. Okay, but so you had them say, wherein Edom said, we are impoverished. Back to Malachi 1:4 says, wherein Edom says, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus said the Lord Yahweh of Tazbawath, or hosts of armies, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness. And they call the border of wickedness, and they're the wicked because they, of course, wherever they go, there's wickedness. Wickedness was multiplied in the earth when they came to rule as the Greeks. All right, what more is it so in this times? Okay, as the Romans are in the second, you have it, that deadly wound that was healed. All right, this being the rebirth of the Roman Empire with the NATO and the EU, the beast. Okay, and this whole system. Okay, which is modeled after the Rome. It says here also, the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation, which is righteous anger forever. Okay, so the Lord said he will throw down. Okay, so I'm going to this word for throw down or throw down. You have haras, which is to tear down, to overthrow, to break and destroy. Basically meaning the structure. So that's great, seeing that. To pull down, ruined, okay, tore down, overthrow, tore down. You see it with these various, the infrastructure, with this bus and the roadway, just open it up into a sinkhole. And going to this other article, I closed it, Slakia. See if I can open that up again. Okay, so this was the other one. The 11 alarming facts about America's crumbling infrastructure. And so it goes into America's infrastructure. Everybody can agree upon it crumbling. Attention span. And you have it, these pretty much the Americans, they're paying attention to what's going on because they're fed nothing but bread and circus. Yeah, rich diet of nothing but entertainment, okay, distraction, pleasure. And then, of course, when you go into, they don't care about and what's actually occurring, that we're in the last days. So the previous generations of Americans conquered an entire continent and erected the greatest system of infrastructure that the world has ever seen. You had actual Edomites that conquered an entire continent. And you have the Edomites, okay, which did that. They conquered Gad, the so-called North American Indians, or which they're God in the Hebrew, which means trip. And you have, of course, also you go into the Seminole Indians, Raban, okay, indigenous people they conquered. And of course, you got the different islands as well, Aya, and where they came as well, and completely conquered her people. And as it says going into who in the world who have seen but thousands upon thousands of extremely impressive infrastructure projects are decades old and desperate in need of a repair and upgrading. The near catastrophic failure of the Orville Dam is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. We should be constructing the next generation of infrastructure projects for our children and our grandchilds or grandchildren, but instead we are in such sorry shape that we can't even keep up with the maintenance and upkeep of the great infrastructure projects that we have been handed down to us. And that's the Lord Dane's doings, which he's breaking this place down. It says, once upon a time, nobody on the entire planet could even come close to matching our infrastructure, but our crumbling infrastructure has become a joke. It's a laughing stock to the rest of the world, of the industrialized world, Sadly, that's just another symptom to our long-term economic collapse, which this place is nothing but in debt to the bankers and such, the elite bankers. They say 22 trillion, but there's articles that publish about 400 trillion or something of that nature. A lot of money is owed to the bankers. Okay. This is a wicked, unjust society. That base system, it says we simply are not able to put our money towards infrastructure as previous generations of Americans did. Where they're putting their money is into actual military spending. So they know there's going to be a World War III. It says, and as a result, and this, I believe, you go into this. This is pretty much just you go into it. This what happened in the olden times in Rome is happening today. It says we have a giant mess on our hands. The following are 11 deeply alarming facts about Americans' crumbling infrastructure. This is according to the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. Nearly 56,000 bridges in the United States are currently structurally deficient. Let's go into this word for structurally deficient. Alright, so when you go into the deficient, just pull up this article and then get the definition. You got you got the graphs and such. American Roads and Builders Transportation Organization or Association. It says which vehicles across 185 million times a day. You have all of these vehicles that are being traveling about, and you have these different roadways, bridges, and such. We're speaking about the bridges. They're structurally deficient. And that just does further damage in which it leads towards something catastrophic happening, such as a bridge collapse. And as you see with these different roadways and such, sinkholes opening up, potholes, okay? And it says not having enough specified quality ingredient, right? Which it needs a solid structure. It needs what is lacking to be made actual filled with the proper repairs, okay? So it isn't inadequate or inferior structurally, okay? So that's there. So when you see that they're talking about making America great again, it's foolishness. When you see it, this place can't be made great. It says what is making. Yeah, I already covered that information. It says here, number 2. It says more than out of every 4 bridges in the United States, more than 50 years old, and have never had any major reconstruction work. And it takes quite some time for the different work to be done, completed. There was this bridge here in Philadelphia, this Holmesburg Bridge, which it wasn't a big bridge, and it was just over a wee creek or something. It took them, it had to be well over a year, if I'm not mistaken, from going to it to actually get it done. And that bridge being shut down, it reduced the amount of flow of traffic heading in a certain direction, and it obviously increased traffic in certain other areas. So when the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai really bring this place down, bring all these places, all the different roads and such, it's going to be hard to get around. And it goes on, it says America does not have a single airport that is considered to be the top 25 in the world. That's kabod, that's heavy. And pretty much me, I hate being in America. I hate America completely. And especially traveling about, over to the east. And you end up loathing this place because it's Esau's place, and Esau doesn't rule right. He's a base man. So you go to different airports and such in the States, and they're just long lines and poor visibility in many places. It's a lot of different things. Just the whole vibration is off. It says the average age of American dams is 52 years. Not too long ago, American Society of Civil Engineers gave condition of America's dams a D grade. That's a D grade is failing. Over the American Society of Civil Engineers said the conditions of American infrastructure as a whole only gets a D plus grade. I've that's in the infrastructure report card, and I've went into this before, but I can check it just a wee bit. See, I want to really see as of when was this last checked, but that was back in 2017. It says here. Okay. Infrastructure D plus. That's just Esau probably has rendered it up to the nearest nearest grade. He just put a plus when it's really a negative. Alright, so you can check out all these different information, which I will leave in the description box. I use this a lot to combat against people that think that this place is actually great or got a wall. It isn't. It says congestion on the highways costs Americans approximately $101 billion a year. Wasted time in petrol, right? Time in petrol or fuel. According to the U.S. Department of Transportation, over 2/3 of the roads are in dire need of repair and upgrades. So that's over 2/3. That's major. That's 66, at least over 66%. So, man, in order to completely fix all of our roads and bridges, it would take approximately $808 billion, which they would have to get from the bankers and such, which they claim to tax you to death to pay for these service, which really you're not doing that. Okay, you're just playing interest. You're never gonna catch up. It says federal spending on infrastructure has decreased 9% over the past decade. It says the quality of our infrastructure affects all of our lives every single day. For instance, we simply take it for granted that we have safe and clean drinking water. They're full of chemicals, and it's going to come out our taps. But recently, events have shown that is not necessarily always going to be the case. And they, of course, note the Flint, Michigan, which came up in my mind. So that's pretty much it. And it tells you here. This saying here, and this is past, we're 20 trillion in debt. It's 22, or I believe it's 22 now, and rising. Where are we going to get the money? It's easy for liberals to say we should raise taxes. It's just getting that political bullshit. It says, but how much more are you going to squeeze out the U.S. consumers? 2/3 of the country are living paycheck to paycheck, right? And we just learned that the U.S. household debt has risen to a grand total of $12.58 trillion. Right? People don't have money to be taxed the Moath. It says, once upon a time, America was the most wealthiest nation on the entire planet that could afford to construct a bold new infrastructure projects from sea to shining sea, yum to yum, or yum la yum. You have yum meaning sea. Shining, I got to look that back up again. In the Hebrew, it's another Hebrew word. And I was looking into it, but I'll get it another time. So it says here, but today we have the biggest mountain of debt in history of the world, and we can't even afford to repair what we already have. When I speak for our long-term economic collapse, that's precisely the sort of thing I'm talking about. We have clearly been in a decline for a very long time, and anyone that would suggest otherwise is simply not being honest with you. And that's Donald Trump. Okay? Donald Trump, who tells you we're in good case. Okay? So, that's those articles, which are great. And this is going to be the book of Proverbs, chapter 15 and 6. It says here, in the house of the righteous, which is Israelites, starting with the elect, is much treasure. Now you have it much treasure because the Israelites are going to inherit what? The kingdom. Okay, and also us being the men of the Lord willing, the elect, we would be building up our spiritual bank account, in which we will have all of our desires and and wildest imaginations and righteousness to be in our heritage with Yahweh Shai, with the world even called Jesus Christ. His name is Yahweh Shai. He's going to be bringing, of course, and ushering the kingdom sin. And we have this wisdom, knowledge, understanding, which is treasure, more than rubies. It says, but in the revenue of the wicked is trouble. All right, which, let's see, this word fe or for and revenue. Thabawa. Which is revenue, being product revenue, product yield of crops and earth, income revenue. From bawa'a, which I believe is a come, right? To go in or come, enter. Alright, so bawa'a, you got here the increase, what comes in, right? Basically. And so going back, the revenue, okay, the you have it obviously going into the yield of the crops, or the products and such. Of the wicked is trouble, is tazarah, okay, which is distress. Well, actually, they got here another Hebrew word, which is ikar, which is to a disturbance, a calamity, to be disturbed, okay, trouble. All right, in which they're definitely in trouble because this place is crumbling before your feet, and our feet, which is I believe regal in Hebrew, but and when this place crashes, it's gonna crash. It's gonna be more destruction because the Lord's gonna bring it down. All these citizens are going to be going mad, insurrections, all the different things are going to occur. All right, this is that's a great precept. Gadwal Rakab or Gadal Rakab. And going to the next scripture. This is 8 Ayawab or Job chapter 8 and 15. Actually, I can start at 8 and 13. It says, so are the paths of all that forget God Most High, and the hypocrite's hope shall perish. Right. Esau is a hypocrite, a stage player, actor. Okay, his hope shall perish. He hopes to make America great again, but isn't it going to be? With the different trade wars, the debt that's been accumulated, This place isn't going to be going anywhere but to Shot Wall, which is to the death and destruction due to nuclear fire. Okay, and the hell that's coming with Jacob Trouble, whose hope shall be cut off, and whose trust shall be a spider's web, a trap. It says, he shall lean upon his house, but it shall not stand. Right, his house. You have it lean on his house, his people. Okay, Esau got all people here. Okay, the Lord, of course. You have the Lord, of course. Have the people coming up against him. Okay, so a lot of people, they flee from this system, flee out this place. Okay, leaving this place. All right, and a lot of people just they pretty much try to circumvent paying taxes and et cetera, or just being supported to a system. And it says, but it shall not no stand. They gave it information about people living paycheck to paycheck. The government shutdown showed that. Okay. It said, and he shall hold it fast, but it shall not endure. So it ain't gonna be able to last the test of time. All right, isn't it going to endure? Which is where right here you have chazak, and you have, which that's strength, and you are hold. It got he shall hold our strength. And you got quam, or quam, actually quam, which means to rise, or to stand up, to be established, or maintain oneself. So this place, this system isn't going to be able, this infrastructure isn't going to be able to maintain itself. It's too much of a burden, all right, due to the actual decay that's been piled up, accumulated. We've made it to the end of this system of Esau's world, and it's time, of course, for it to come down. All right, so as it says here in the book of Ecclesiastes, real quick, and that's the last precept. We'll close out. Ecclesiastes 3. It tells you here, starting at 1, it says, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under the heaven. So it goes down here and it says, is a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up. It's a time for things to be broken down, saith the Lord. Which saith the Lord is Amar Yahweh, okay, which is said or saith the Lord in Hebrew. It says a time to weep and a time to laugh and a time to mourn and a time to dance. We're in a time of weeping, okay, and of course rejoicing for the elect. So we of course rejoice at the end of this rulership, the heaven of Esau Edom, and him seeing Sha'wal, his hell, Sha'wal, his lower state being brought upon him. So with that, hopefully you're edified. Call Allah Yimla, Yahal Bashim Al Shai, Bashim Al Kakodash. Of course, double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone. Public bus swallowed up by a massive sea coal in Downtown Pittsburgh. America's infrastructure is shite. And if you kind of see that it's crumbling, you're being lied to. Alright, with that, I want to say shalom.